Live updates. Panel to decide whether Lyle Menendez deserves parole. Lyle Menendez will answer questions from the California Parole Board a day after his younger brother was denied parole. What could work for or against Lyle Menendez during parole hearing? Unlike his younger brother Eric, whose in-prison violations contributed to his parole denial, Lyle Menendez may have an easier time as his offenses are less serious. That's a glimmer of hope for him, legal analyst Royal Oak said, adding while Eric was found with drugs and alcohol, prison guards confiscated a cigarette lighter and Adidas shoes from Lyle. What could hurt Lyle Menendez's chance of being released on parole is his account of why the brothers had to kill their mother, Kitty Menendez. They had shifting stories, Oak said. She was suicidal, so we killed her. Or, I was devastated by her enabling, so I killed her. It didn't make sense, and it didn't have much credibility. Contraband that Lyle Menendez had inside the prison. Other than having cell phones being punished for it, Lyle Menendez were found with a couple of items that are prohibited inside the prison. After being found with a cell phone on March 15, 2024, Menendez lost the privilege of getting family visits at the prison for a year until April 2025, according to prison records. Menendez was reprimanded for having 31 music CDs as well as a pair of soccer shoes inside his cell in January 2003. In May 2013, a prison guard found him with a black lighter. When probed about the contraband, Menendez told prison officials that it was supposed to be used for a religious ceremony. Eric Menendez describes parents' murders in newly released audio from parole hearing. Audio recording from Eric Menendez's parole board hearing was released Friday, a day after the board denied him parole. Menendez and his brother Lyle Menendez were convicted of first-degree murder in 1996 during a retrial and sentenced to life in prison without parole. After a years-long battle, the Menendez brothers were resentenced to 50 years to life with the possibility of parole. Due to that resentencing, they became eligible for parole hearings under youth offender parole laws. On Thursday, after nearly 10 hours of questioning and testimony, the board decided Menendez should remain in prison due to several factors, including his behavior while in prison. The parole board said it's a 3-year denial, and Eric Menendez can then be eligible for parole again at that time. In the audio of the parole board hearing, Eric Menendez describes the abuse he suffered at the hands of his father and why he killed his mother. The audio also breaks down why the parole board denied Menendez parole. Hear portions from the 10-hour parole board hearing below. Eric Menendez explains buying the guns, what led up to his parents' murders. Hear the audio below. What to know about the Menendez brothers' parole hearings. Lyle Menendez is pleading his case before a parole board Friday, a day after his younger brother Eric was denied parole. Their separate hearings this week come nearly 30 years after the brothers were convicted of first-degree murder in 1995 for the 1989 killings of their parents. They were sentenced to life in prison without parole in 1996. But after a Los Angeles judge reduced their sentences to 50 years to life in May, they immediately became eligible for parole under California law because they were under age 26 when they committed their crimes. Who are the Menendez brothers and what did they do? Lyle and Eric Menendez are the sons of Jose and Kitty Menendez. Jose, a Cuban-American business executive who at one time was an executive at RCA Records, moved his family from Princeton, New Jersey, to California when the brothers were teenagers. On August 20, 1989, Lyle Menendez dialed 911 to report the shotgun killings of their parents inside their home. Both brothers told investigators that the murders were related to the mafia or had something to do with their father's business dealings. At the time, Eric was 18 and Lyle was 21. With access to the family's wealth, the brothers spent small fortunes on Rolex watches, cars, and houses. But 2 months after the killings, Eric Menendez confessed to his psychologist that he and his brother killed their parents. What were the brothers charged with? They were arrested early the following year and charged with first-degree murder. The brothers claimed that their father emotionally and sexually abused them since childhood, but prosecutors contended that getting access to his money was the motive. The first trial started in 1993. Defense attorneys never disputed that the brothers killed their parents, but argued that they acted out of self-defense. Their trials resulted in hung juries. In 1995, a jury convicted them on 3 counts, including first-degree murder, plus lying in wait and special circumstance allegations. They were sentenced to life without parole in 1996. How do they spend their years in prison? For years, the brothers filed petitions for appeals from behind bars, but they were denied by state and federal judges. The brothers have engaged in education while in prison, participated in self-help classes, and started various support groups for fellow prisoners. They also launched a prison beautification project inspired by the Norwegian approach to incarceration that believes rehabilitation in humane prisons surrounded by nature leads to successful reintegration into society, even for people who have committed terrible crimes. Over the years, the Menendez case has continued to fascinate the public, and the brothers became celebrities of sorts. They also were the subjects of true crime shows, including last year's 9-episode Netflix crime drama, Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story. A few weeks after that aired, then LA County District Attorney George Gaskin announced that he was reviewing new evidence in the case. On October 24, 2024, prosecutors said they would petition the court to re-sentence the brothers. And in May 2025, an LA County Superior Court judge reduced their sentences to 50 years to life, making them immediately eligible for parole. What is the role of the parole board? The board is tasked with assessing whether the brothers pose an unreasonable risk of danger to society, if released. Considering factors like criminal history, motivation for the crime, signs of remorse, behavior while in prison, and plans for the future, according to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Nearly all the Menendez brothers' family members support releasing them. Their uncle Milton Anderson, who opposed it, died from cancer in March. Could one receive parole and not the other? Los Angeles trial attorney David Ring has said that if one brother has been a troublemaker in prison and the other has not, it's conceivable that one could stay locked up while the other goes free. But Ring, who is not involved with the case, called that unlikely.